Somali community was at a meeting like this. It was either 1987 or 1988, and it was in the Ritchie Street area.
I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
There was another gentleman there, Ahmad Jama.
Ahmad Jama. I was in the working
in the United Nations.
In the United Nations. He was
United
working
Nations.
and somewhere around Asia.
I learned about the needs of the community at that time, and I worked very, very closely with the Somali community. That was, I think we can say, the first wave of Somalis when they came to Ottawa, and it was very, very difficult for them because they were the first ones who were coming to the community, and there was a lot of cultural shock. And the Canadian governments were not even ready to be able to provide services because they hadn't had the type of experience that was necessary to meet the needs of the Somali community. And I remember one of the things that I did at the request of Ahmad Jama was that people did not have the booklet that you need to learn the information for Canadian citizenship. So working with Ahmad and some of the people in the community, we took the Canadian immigration book and we translated it into Somali language. And I used my budget as from my office as MPP to print about 400 or 500 copies to distribute to the Somali community, and it was very much appreciated. But as you know, an MPP does work in Toronto, and you have an office in Toronto, and that's where the Parliament is, the government, so you go back and forth. So what happened is some of the Somali community in Toronto found out that we were printing this booklet to help them to get their citizenship. And again, we used our office budget in Toronto to print the book and make it available. And it was over a period of 5 or 6 years we kept getting requests from people in the Somali community to make that available to them. I was also helped Ahmad to get his job at the City of Ottawa. He was working at the City of Ottawa because it was very, very important for somebody from your community to be there, to be a bridge between your community and the services that we would have at the City of Ottawa. And I lost track of him, and then I heard that he was at the United Nations, and I received a couple of emails from him a couple of years ago. But there are very specific needs for your community. One of the biggest ones is jobs. It's certification of trades. And I've always worked as mayor and as an MPP to try to make that happen as much as possible. You're probably aware of some of the agenda of the provincial government, and I'm happy to share those with you. But more important is for me to learn what your agenda is, what you need from the provincial government, so that I can be of service to you. I am not going to define what I'm going to do for you. I want you to define for me, to say to me how we can work together to serve the needs of your community. But in terms of the general issues, certainly one of the biggest issues, the two biggest issues, are healthcare and education, and social services for a lot of people as well. In terms of healthcare, when we took over, I'll be very brief. I don't want to make a big long speech on policy because you can always ask more questions after if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions on any of these items. But when the Dalton McGuinty government took over from Mike Harris, they were closing hospitals. They were closing the Grace Hospital, the Montfort Hospital, and since then, this government has actually been building hospitals. We have a new Royal Ottawa Hospital, double the size of the Montfort Hospital. We saved the Chio Hospital, which they wanted to cut back. We just opened the new cancer center at the Queensway Carleton Hospital. We've put very significant money into community resource centers like Pinecrest Queensway. I know that a lot of your community, especially in the western part of the riding, access the services to Pinecrest Queensway. When I was the MPP before, I worked very closely with them, and the provincial government has doubled their funding from about $2,500,000 to $5 million over the last couple of years. And for any of you who have been there, you see that they have a lot of programs. They've got a lot more space. And I was there about a week and a half ago, and I know that I saw a number of members from the Somali community going in and out and accessing the services that are there. There's job training there, and there's healthcare services, and it's a very, very diverse organization, and is providing very, very good service. And the provincial government is interested in continuing to improve and expand the services at the community resource centers. You see it in other parts of the city, southeast, Overbrook Forbes, around the city, and they provide very, very direct service to the community. One of the things that I would like to know is how you feel they're doing, the community resources centers are doing, whether you feel they're doing your service or not.
Yeah, that's what we are coming. Actually, first of all, let me tell you, this is a very influential individual. We may not as large as this one, but I assure you, the community already aware of your meeting here, meeting
Yes.
over here.
Yes.
And this, Mr. Ali and several of them, especially there, who's going to speak in a minute, and have worked the community for many, many years, and are very much aware of the community. But our concern is many of us feel, especially the Somali community, that the liberal take us advantage. And so we believe that at least, although that something that has been done, it has not been yet fully meet our need. So I will pass it on to Ahmed at this
Okay.
point,
Okay.
who has a great deal of experience about the Somali community and about the information of the Somali community background.
Okay.
So
Thanks, Mohammed. Thanks, Bob. And thanks for everybody. I met Bob in the early 90s when, as you said, when he was MPP in Ottawa West. I used to run an office here at the
Yes.
Somali Integration and Settlement
Yes.
Agency.
Yes.
And at that time, we came, I would say that we came at the wrong time. When the recession hit hard in early 90s, that's where the large influx of Somali community came into this country. And that's a norm. When the economy is booming, about over 80% of Canadians, they favorite of the immigrants. When the recession, I mean, when the economy goes down, most of the Canadians, I mean, don't like the new, and that's a normal trend. So I met Bob when he was MVP, and at that time Bob was very, to be honest with you, we had two MVPs, Bob Chiarelli and Richard Benson, and they were a foot soldier for the Somali community. Anytime we call Bob, he's there. And my office was very close here, and he was very helpful, to be honest with you. And he had the guts, and at that time he had two big balls, and he was not his size. He was there. He was there anytime. We used to call him in the evening. We used to call him in the afternoon, and anytime you call Bob Shirley, he's there. And we tried to purchase a resource center at that time. It was about $2 million, and I hope Paul remembers. We used to meet at Maitland. There was a house, and the Ontario, Bob Ray and his gang came over and bought Evelyn Chitans, who was the Minister of Housing at that time. So she scrapped the whole thing. And we still love to get, first of all, Bob from you as a provincial. And I know sooner the election is going to be easy because Bob has two big machines. He has his sheet of oil machine, and he has, what is his name, the guy who resigned.
Jim Watson.
Jim Watson machine also is there, so I wouldn't worry about that he's going to elect or not this week. Yeah, and the position. So,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping that Bob is going to get a minister. I have that confidence from Dalton McGuinty, even though I don't like the Dalton McGuinty policy, and I don't want to get into that details. But Bob is here now. We, Bob, much of the Somali young who came to this country, most of them have been in jail. Most of them have criminal record. I remember I personally interviewed in early life 82 Somalis, 82 young. They were in high school, four of them, and they are still in the street. If you see any young Somali community, over the boys, still, and if you visit to the jails, if you go to all of the jails, the majority are Somalis, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the reason is in the first 7, 6 years we were in isolation position, and now but I'm glad now the Somali are moving to the coast. So that resource helps is going to help a lot of young Somalis because they're going to have a gym, they're going to have so on and
Yeah.
so on place. And in terms of business too, our business now is spread, it's all over, it's fine. But if you and there are so many schools are closing, and the professional come by. At that time, it cost about $2 million, and Evelyn Chance, she scrapped the whole thing. So that I'm accounting for Bob Chiarelli, he can at least work with that. And she said employment is very high, and and education also. And I've seen a radio platform last week, and it was very fantastic because you were talking mostly healthcare, and healthcare is matched to all the Ontarians.
Healthcare and education.
Healthcare and education is very important. So, um, in my conclusion, Bob's very nice. To be honest with you, he's not the Bob that I know was not a real politician. If you want to see Bob Chiarelli, you can count on him, and you can take that my word. You know what I mean?
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So, because I've known him almost 20 years now. So,
Well,
Bob, what?
yeah. When I was mayor, I worked with some of the leaders in your community, some of the women leaders in your community, to do a Somali youth initiative, to try to create jobs for young people, and to create more services in the community, working with the police, social service agencies. I think we had some success with that, and that a lot of that was directed out of my office as the mayor. Um, I'm prepared, and I will be very proactive to try to create solutions. But I see solutions on two levels. Okay, one level of solution is the general policies that we have as a provincial government, and I'll talk about one or two of those in a minute. And the second one is very, very community based. It's got to be community based. You got to be able to feel it, see it, and touch it. And if you can't do that, it doesn't exist. Okay? If it's on paper and it's in the book somewhere, if you can't make it happen in the community, you might as well not have it. So, some of the things, one of the important things, especially for young people now, is the full day schooling for kindergarten, because all of the research has shown that between age 0 and 6, that's what determines whether that child is going to be successful or not. And the implementation of that program is going to be phased in, and they're putting it into the communities that are less socially and economically developed. For example, there's 3 of the schools that are in the Bayshore area, and there are a lot of new Canadians, new arrivals, people without their citizenship. They're economically stressed, they're socially stressed by being here just a short time. They will be able to, the program, when you have the 4 and 5 year olds go in, it's almost a guarantee they're not going to be in crime later on. So that is the rationale for that particular policy, which I think will be very, very successful. But I think we have to have programs that are impacting on the kids now that are up to 15 or 16 years of age, because that's when they're going to be formulated, when you're going to keep them up. So you need the gyms, you need the activities for them, you need the summer jobs for them. It's very, very direct, and it's very, very personal on the ground. And so that's my principle, my philosophy of trying to make something happen. And I will do that through my constituency office. I'll do it by, if I'm fortunate enough to be a minister at Queen's Park,
You will be.
then when I'm in cabinet, I'm going to talk about the programs that will make sense on the ground for my community. And I know that it's the same in many areas of Toronto. You have relationships with people in Toronto. The situation there maybe is even more stressed than it is here. So it has to be done. And I see myself as a friend of the Somali community, and I will represent you as I have in the past. And but I need your help. When I say I need your help, I need to have some level of agreement from your own community. I need to be able to get you into a room and say, okay, what do we need to do here and there, and know that you're speaking for the community.
Okay.
That can take a place.
Okay. You want to say something?
No.
Okay.
Go on.
Well, before today, actually, a few days ago, when I spoke to Mr. Fan, we did a little bit of a water testing.
Mm-hmm.
We went around and talked to the community. One of the questions that we gather from that, or we get out of it, is what can he do for us? And I'm sure you talked about it. And first of all, as Ahmed at least emphasized it mostly, the community really worried about the employment, especially the male. The unemployment is extremely really, because as you see this room, many of them are professionals, and many of them even they have professional jobs, and I hope some of them they will forgive me. And our leader was a former judge, and we have a professor, and it's still it's a difficulty of getting a job. And the other thing that the community that we talked about, even including the woman, that we talked about it, we said, look, we're going to be having a meeting with Mr. Chiarelli, and what do you think? And now the job after here for us is to go back to the community and try to encourage them and the community to vote for you. But that's what it's come, the contract that we just talked about it. How can we have a contract for your side as well? You see, how can we have a contract? Because we're recording it, of course, and we're going to be publish it. And we're hoping to publish it on the internet to encourage as well the largest Somali community and one of the most visited website. So I will pass it on to the questions of I think my friend here, and if anybody has a question, and feel free and go ahead and ask. You have questions?
No, we took the big hit. Bob.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
our
What did we point it out? I mean, the importance is let me repeat is the creation of a resource center.
and I still
Right?
I believe the
Okay.
liberal the Berkshire liberal can do that. It's not if they want to do that they can do it.
Okay.
Sorry, and what's the point you
Resource
make?
center for the community.
The creation of the resource center community, a resource center for the community, Somali community, and of course, employment, and as well as the young Somalis are disproportionately in jail. And as he mentioned Ahmed earlier, that really a big concern for us because many of us here, even in this room, many of us are fathers, and a land that we cherish and we love. Of course, this is the most welcoming country I could say in the world because I've been in many countries. And today our children are Canadians, and that's our concern. So we will let you since I think we sum it up everything. So we'll let you go ahead and give us your contract and what can you
Well,
do?
what I'm saying is, I'm hearing you say what your priorities are,
Yes.
and I will work with you to try to make those happen.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't make a promise to you that saying, within 6 months I'm going to create X number of jobs or whatever it is, what I will say to you is that if I'm your MPP in this area, okay, you're important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I will work hard to help you meet your agenda, and we have to do it together. Um, it needs to be a partnership, and I want to work with you as partners. I'm very, very pleased to see that you have evolved as a community to a point where you talk to each other, you have an agenda, you have leaders, and I look forward to working with you to fulfill those things. And one of the first things that I would do, okay, this is I see as a first meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and if I'm elected, once I have my constituency office open, within a number of weeks, we will sit down together and we will try to discuss the types of solutions in detail that would be helpful. Okay, we talk about the Somali youth, the boys, and what the challenges are. Well, let's find out what we need to do. I'm not going to be able to tell you what's going to be. I mean, it's your culture, they're your families, and you need to give me advice on how I can help you. And so I will work with you in that way.
Let's make it this is informal meeting and then to meet each other and to know each other. So
Sure.
next time when it's said when you get elected and you open an office, then we can have more in-depth
Absolutely.
agenda, and then we can in the meantime we can meet the community
You see,
and find out the needs.
one of the ways that I've been successful in a lot of the things that I've done at the city is because in order to solve problems, you need to have everybody involved in the same room at the same time.
Into the table.
Okay, so you need to have people from the Community Resource Center. You need to have people from City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have people from the province. You need to have the police at the table.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have some business people.
Mm-hmm.
The business people, if you can get them to the table to be part of a solution, they could be a big part of jobs if you get them to buy in. So if you go just to the business community and say, we want you to show some leadership by giving jobs to young Somali boys, that's a lot harder than having the business community at the table where you have the police, you have the mayor, you have people from Pinecrest Queensway, people who understand the needs in the community, have the Somali community at the table, and then you say, we're all going to agree that we're going to help each other in whatever ways we can. Then it's under those circumstances you'll be much more successful in getting the business community to make a special effort to hire Somali youth. So my way of creating solutions is to try to get everybody who has an interest in it at the table in the same room at the same time, and say, here's an action plan. You do your part, you do your part, you do your part, and then it'll come together. That's how I would approach solving the problems that you're defining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Ali, do you have anything?
No.
Do you have anything else? We give you the contact of Mr. Ali Contact Ahmed, and he has my number. And anything that you want us to do on our part, you're free
You are ready to do.
to let us know. And I believe that it's very short election. It's by election. I believe it's March
It's this
4th.
Thursday, March 4th, this Thursday,
Yeah,
this week.
Yeah. So our objective is here and now is how could we bring the Somali voters to the polling.
Well, that's the big issue, and it's to the extent that you know where the Somali families are,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have phone numbers for them,
Yes.
to call them and encourage them to vote. Number one, and number two, in areas where there are more Somali families, to actually on election day, you can go and you can knock on the door and you can say you only have to go downstairs, or you have to go over to the school. We'd like you to go out and vote. And that's really what it is. Now, now I heard the comment that it's automatic that I'm going to win because there have been many times when the best candidate or the most popular candidate does not win because people assume that he's going to win and they stay at home. Okay, the other guy wins. Okay, so you have to make sure the votes get out. It doesn't matter whether Watson was here before or whatever else. It could be a bad weather day and people don't want to go out and vote, but really it's very, very important to make sure the votes get in the box because you can't assume that they will get there on their own.
Let me just propose one thing. In the meantime, we can get at least about two people who can volunteer in the office so they can make a phone call. So I would suggest Mohammed and another guy would come to your office and then they can call people,
Okay.
to come on
Could
that
you
day.
arrange that, Frank?
Sure, Mohammed, do you guys have a list of folks of the Somali community, or do you need if I would give you the area here, or
We have a lot
in the
of
Bayshore, or
It's
somewhere
all
else, or
over.
is it
It's all
It's all
over.
over.
It's all over right
Yeah.
now?
But the Somali
So-
mostly live now, I
in this
believe,
area.
in this area?
The largest number live now we used to live south in here, but this is we have a good number
In West End.
in the west.
In the West End, okay.
In the Bayshore area, this
Bayshore
area,
area,
this
okay.
area,
It's all
Yeah.
Foster
Just,
Farm.
just
Yeah.
so I produce list, like I just gotta know, like
We will let Mohammed,
Mohammed,
and another guy work.
maybe
with
you and I can speak
Yeah.
tomorrow or something about that.
And you guys can work out the
Is that speaking English for tomorrow?
Sure, if you're available, if you want to come to the campaign office,
yeah,
or
that's the best thing.
If my leader, it's okay with
Sure.
it.
Yeah,
I can say
Is that
that
okay, or-
we have knocked on just about every door in Bayshore. Okay, so all of the Minto buildings, etc., and I am very, very honored that so many Somalis recognize me as a friend at the door,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to let them down.
Mm-hmm.